On the day of his wedding, the billionaire stood alone at the altar. The hall was silent. The air felt cold. Hundreds of eyes watched, waiting, whispering. But the woman standing across from him was not the woman he loved, because the woman he truly loved had already walked away. And that was the moment Adrian Wolfe realized something he had spent his whole life denying. Power could buy him everything, except the one heart that refused to be owned. Let me take you back to where it all began. Adrian Wolfe was the kind of man people feared before they respected, and obeyed before they understood. Cold, disciplined, dangerous in how controlled he was. The world called him ruthless. His employees called him sir. And no one ever said no to him. No one except her. Maya Alvarez, the only woman who had ever looked him in the eye and dared to walk away. It was raining that afternoon, and Adrian stood in his office, staring out over the city he practically owned. Phone in one hand, jaw tight, mind sharp. The board had given him a warning, one that sounded less like advice and more like a threat. Fix the crisis, or lose the company. And for the first time in years, Adrian didn't have a solution. Except one. A name he swore he would never call again. A woman he had buried beneath ego and pride. But now, he needed her. He dialed the number slowly, every second stretching like glass. The line rang once, twice, and then her voice, soft, calm, controlled. Maya. Hello? He swallowed his pride. Adrian. Maya. I need you back. Silence. Long, tense, heavy. He could almost hear her heartbeat. He could almost feel his own. Then, her voice sharpened. Maya. Then say what you never could. Adrian. His chest tightened. The word burned his tongue, but he forced it out anyway. Adrian. Please. Some people return for love. Some return for closure. Maya returned for neither. She returned for herself, for the career she built, the dignity she refused to surrender, and the part of her life he once almost destroyed. Her world was small, but peaceful. A tiny apartment, coffee on the table, notebooks stacked beside unpaid bills. But it was hers, earned, built, survived. Maya wasn't fragile. She wasn't weak. She was the kind of strong that comes only from pain. And Adrian Wolfe was the reason she learned strength in the first place. The next morning, she walked into his company lobby, calm, elegant, distant. Every step sounded like a challenge. Every breath like restraint. People whispered. Eyes followed her. They remembered the day she left, the quiet resignation, the silent courage. And now, she was back. Not as a servant of the empire, but as the only person capable of saving it. She entered the conference room, and there he was. Adrian Wolfe, standing across the table, power rigid in his posture, emotion buried beneath years of discipline. Their eyes met, not like lovers, not like strangers, but like two storms, meeting in the same sky, neither willing to break first. I'm here to fix the crisis, nothing more, she said, her voice steady, her spine unbent. He nodded once. Understood. Adrian replied. But the truth sat inside him like a blade. Because this wasn't just business. It wasn't just strategy. It wasn't control. He had never fired Maya. He had let her go. Because he had been falling for her. And he was terrified of what that meant. And instead of loving her, he had chosen power. That evening, the board delivered their verdict. To secure the billion-dollar merger, the company needed stability. A perfect public image. A symbol of loyalty, commitment, trust. The CEO must be engaged. Immediately. No scandal. No rumors. No emotional uncertainty. And the woman chosen was Maya. Not by love, not by fate. By contract. Adrian didn't ask. He commanded, because that was all he knew how to do. Sign it. 3 months. Public partnership. It benefits us both, Adrian said. The pen rested on the table. The room felt colder. Time slowed. Maya didn't shake. She didn't cry. She simply looked at him, the man who once broke her without touching her. And she spoke, softly, but with a strength sharper than steel. "I'll sign, Adrian, but on one condition," she said. He raised an eyebrow. She leaned forward. "The moment you try to own me, I walk away." She stated her terms. Silence. A long, unspoken challenge. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because power had never been questioned in his world. Until now. She signed the contract. Not as his assistant. Not as his obedient shadow. But as a woman who refused to surrender herself again. And in that moment, something shifted. Not in the company. Not in the deal. In him. Because for the first time, Adrian Wolfe wasn't afraid of losing his empire. He was afraid of losing her again. That was the day their story truly began. Not with love, not with fate, but with a choice, power, or the one heart. He was never meant to control, because what neither of them knew was this: the contract was never the real trap. The real trap was falling in love again. And this time, someone would not survive it. From the outside, their engagement looked perfect. Headlines called it romantic. Investors called it strategic. The world called it destiny. But behind every smile, there was a lie. A contract, a clock ticking, and 2 hearts pretending not to break. The first public appearance came just 3 days later. A charity gala. Crystal chandeliers. Expensive laughter filling the room like perfume. Cameras flashed. And then, Adrian arrived. Tall, composed, flawless in a black suit. Maya at his side. She did not cling to his arm. She did not shrink beneath the attention. She walked with him, not behind him. Equal, steady, untouchable. Whispers followed them like shadows. Is she really the one? She used to work for him, right? Do you think it's love? Maya smiled politely, but her eyes stayed guarded. Because she knew this wasn't love. This was survival. Inside. A reporter leaned forward, microphone raised. "Mr. Wolfe, when did you realize she was the woman you wanted to marry?" he asked. The room stilled. Adrian hesitated, just for a second. A second too real. His voice finally came, deep, smooth, practiced. The moment I understood that some people don't just enter your life, they challenge it. Adrian replied. The crowd melted with admiration. But Maya, she felt something twist in her chest. Because behind the words, she heard what he didn't say. He wasn't talking about love. He was talking about control. Later that night, the cameras disappeared. The limo door closed. Silence. City lights blurred past the windows like ghosts. They sat inches apart, yet miles away from each other. Maya. This isn't real, Adrian. Don't start pretending it is. He turned toward her, voice quiet, guarded. I know what this is, Maya, but pretending doesn't always mean lying, he said. She looked at him, searching, cautious. Then tell me what is real, she said. His jaw tightened, his eyes softened, just for a breath. But instead of honesty, he chose silence, again. And in that silence, she felt the distance grow wider. Days turned into performances, photo shoots, interviews, appearances. To the world, they looked like a fairy tale. To themselves, they were two strangers trapped inside a story neither chose. But somewhere between the lies, something began to change. Not loudly, not suddenly, quietly, like a door slowly opening, in a room that had always been locked. It happened late one night, in the rooftop garden of the company headquarters. No reporters, no flashing lights, just city, wind, and the quiet hum of distant traffic. Maya stood near the edge, staring at the skyline. Her hair moved in the breeze. Her eyes, softer than he remembered. Adrian walked toward her, slow, careful, almost human. Adrian, you always came up here, didn't you, back when you worked here? She nodded slightly. It was the only place that felt real. She said, a pause, a crack in the armor. He stood beside her, not as CEO, not as the man who once hurt her. Just Adrian. Maya, why did you leave that night? He asked. Her breath shook, just a little. But she didn't turn to him. Because I realized something. You didn't want me in your world. You wanted me under your control. She answered. Her words hit him like a blade wrapped in silk. He swallowed, voice faint. I was afraid, he admitted. She finally looked at him, not angry, not bitter, just tired. Afraid of what? She asked. His eyes lowered. His voice broke, not loudly, but enough. Of needing you. Silence, raw, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. Because for the first time, Adrian Wolfe was not the man with all the power. He was just a man who didn't know how to love without trying to control. Something changed that night. Not forgiveness, not trust, but truth. Small, fragile, unfinished. He started walking her to her car. He stopped interrupting her ideas and meetings. He actually listened. And Maya, who swore she would never feel anything again, began to feel. Not love, not yet, but something dangerous, something that could ruin everything, if she let it. A week later, the illusion shattered. A leaked article, a headline spreading like rumors. Speculation, cruel laughter. They called her unworthy, opportunistic, a woman who slept her way into power. Maya read every word, quietly, alone. Her hands trembled, but her face stayed calm. Because pain was not new to her. Humiliation was an old companion. That night, she confronted him. The office was dark. Rain hit the windows like whispers. She placed the article on his desk. Her voice, steady, cold. controlled. Maya. Say something. He looked at the headline. Fury burned behind his eyes. But anger was useless. She stared at him, waiting for him to defend her, to choose her, to stand beside her, just once. But instead, he hesitated, because defending her publicly meant risking the merger, the empire, the power. And for a moment, he chose silence again, the same silence that destroyed everything before. Her voice broke, quiet, fragile. I see. Nothing has changed, she said and turned away. He reached out, but stopped, because he did not know how to hold someone without trying to own them. And in that moment, he lost the one thing that had never been for sale: her trust. That was the night the illusion cracked. Not loud, not dramatic, just quietly, like glass beginning to break. Because love does not die in explosions. It dies in hesitation, in silence. In the moment someone chooses pride over the person standing in front of them. And what neither of them knew was this: the storm had only begun. And the next choice Adrian made would cost him everything. Trust is not destroyed in one moment. It cracks, then weakens, then finally collapses. And on that night, Maya felt every crack, every hesitation, every silence. Every time Adrian chose power instead of her, the backlash spread like wildfire. Articles, podcasts, social gossip, tearing her apart. They called her a climber, an opportunist, a woman who sold herself for security. But Maya did not scream. She did not defend herself online. She simply withdrew. Quiet, distant, untouchable. The colder she became, Sandakas, the more Adrian realized something terrifying. He wasn't losing the merger. He was losing her. He found her in the strategy room, alone. Lights dim, papers scattered across the table. She was working, but her eyes looked tired, the kind of tired that comes from fighting alone. He stepped inside, voice gentle, unfamiliar. Maya, let me handle this. I'll make a statement. Adrian said. She didn't look up. No, you'll make a calculated response like you always do. She replied. Her voice grew sharper. You're not trying to protect me, Adrian. You're trying to protect the deal. His jaw tensed. He hated that she was right. He hated that she could see through him, every time. He stepped closer, softer now. I don't want to lose you, he admitted. Her hands stilled, but she didn't turn. You already did. Her voice wasn't angry. It was worse. It was empty. The next morning, he was called into the boardroom. Cold glass, hard voices, no humanity. We need distance between the company and the scandal, a board member said. Their solution was brutal. End the engagement, or remove her from the company entirely. Another said. The words ripped through him. He stared at them. Disbelief, fury boiling beneath the surface. She's the one holding this company together. Adrian tried to argue. They didn't care. To them, Maya wasn't a person. She was a risk profile, a liability, a disposable name. And for the first time, Adrian felt something he had never felt in this room before. Shame. Because this was the world he had built. A world where people were not loved. They were used. He left the meeting and stood alone in the corridor, hands trembling, heart racing. He had two choices: keep the empire, lose Maya forever, or protect her, and watch everything else burn. For the first time in his life, the choice wasn't strategic, it was human. He finally understood that power wasn't the prison. He was. He went to find her. He rehearsed the words in his head. I choose you. I'll defend you. I'll end the merger. I'm done being my father's son. But when he reached her office, she was already packing. Slowly, quietly, not with anger, not with drama, with acceptance, like someone who had finally realized there was nothing left worth fighting for. He stepped inside, breath unsteady. Maya, don't do this. He begged. She looked at him, not with hatred, with sadness. You had your chance to fight for me. You chose silence. She replied. He shook his head, desperate now. I'm ready to fix it. Just stay, please. Her eyes softened for a second. But then, she looked at the contract on the table, the one he had given her, the chain disguised as agreement. No, Adrian. I promised myself I'd walk away the moment you tried to own me, she said. She placed her keycard on the desk and whispered, This is me keeping my promise. The hallway felt endless. Her footsteps echoed. Employees watched in shock. The woman who saved the company, walking away without a fight. Adrian followed after her, not as a CEO, as a man who finally realized what loss truly meant. Maya, please, don't go, he pleaded, his voice breaking. She stopped, but did not turn around. Her voice was calm. You don't truly want me, Adrian. You want control. That looks like love, she said. Silence. Heavy. Final. She walked out. And this time, he didn't stop her. Because he couldn't. Because the only way to hold her was to let her go. The merger began to collapse. Investors withdrew. The board panicked. And Adrian, for the first time in his life, didn't care. He stood in his penthouse, city lights flickering below. But for the first time, the city didn't feel like his. It felt empty. Because a world built on power means nothing when the one person who made it human is gone. He replayed everything in his mind, every command, every silence, every moment he chose pride over love. He realized something painful. He never feared losing control. He feared being vulnerable. He feared being loved in a way he could not dominate. And now, that fear had cost him everything. He looked at the engagement ring, not as a symbol of power, not as a contract piece, but as a promise he had never truly made. And for the first time, Adrian Wolfe did something he had never done before. He chose to break the rules of his own world. He walked back into the same boardroom and spoke not as a CEO, but as a man. Adrian, steady, unshaken. I'm ending the merger. I won't sacrifice her for this company. The room exploded. Threats, warnings, consequences. But he did not flinch, because finally, he understood the truth. Power means nothing if you lose the person who taught you how to feel. But what Adrian did not know was that someone else had been pulling strings from the shadows all along. The scandal, the rumors, the attack on Maya's name. None of it was an accident, and the man responsible was closer than he ever imagined. The betrayal had only begun, and the next secret would change everything. Betrayal never comes from strangers. It comes from the people who smiled with you, sat beside you, shook your hand, and waited for the perfect moment to twist the knife. And for Adrian Wolfe, the knife had been waiting for years. After ending the merger, the company shook like a collapsing tower. Stocks plunged. The board panicked. The world watched, waiting for him to fail. But Adrian was no longer fighting for investors. He was fighting for truth. And that truth started with one question. Who leaked the rumor about Maya? Who tore her reputation apart and forced her to walk away? Late one night, Adrian sat in the dark of his office. Only the glow of a single computer screen. Lines of data, emails, metadata trails. He dug deeper, layer after layer, until he found it, a sender, hidden behind proxies. But the identity was unmistakable. And then he saw the name. For a moment, the world stopped. Victor Crane, his closest friend, his trusted partner, the man he built the company beside, the man he believed would never betray him. The air left his lungs, his hands tightened into fists, because now everything made sense. The scandal, the pressure, the board manipulation. Victor had engineered it all, not to destroy Maya, but to destroy him. The confrontation did not happen in a boardroom. It happened in silence, a private penthouse suite, city lights burning below. Victor poured himself a drink, almost casual, as if nothing mattered. Victor, calm, cold. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. Adrian didn't speak, didn't blink. His voice came out low, dangerous. Adrian, you used her. Victor shrugged. Victor, she was a weakness, and I don't tolerate weakness in leadership. Silence fell, heavy, suffocating, violent. Victor, you were changing, losing focus, losing control, all because of one woman. Adrian's eyes darkened. She wasn't my weakness. She was the only thing that ever made me human, Adrian said. Victor laughed softly, a cruel, hollow sound. And that is exactly why I removed her. The glass shattered in Adrian's hand. Blood ran down his fingers. But he didn't feel pain. He felt something worse. Regret, guilt, rage. Not at Victor, at himself. Because Victor didn't destroy Maya's life alone. Adrian had helped him by staying silent, by choosing power, by hesitating when she needed him most. Victor stepped closer, his voice smooth, poisonous. You don't love her, Adrian. You're obsessed with control. You always have been. He leaned in. And that's why you'll lose her. The company, everything, Victor said. Adrian looked at him, not with anger, with clarity, for the first time. He saw Victor for what he truly was, not a friend, a parasite, a mirror of the man Adrian used to be. Cold, calculating, soulless, the kind of man Maya had walked away from. Adrian turned away. His voice was no longer desperate, no longer confused. It was steady. "I'm not the man you built this company with anymore," Adrian said. Victor scoffed, but Adrian continued. "I choose integrity over fear. And I choose her, whether she ever forgives me or not." Victor froze, because for the first time, Adrian Wolfe had become uncontrollable. Not through power, through conscience, through love that did not demand ownership, but sacrifice. And Victor had already lost. The next day, Adrian exposed everything. The leaks, the manipulation, the sabotage. The world exploded with headlines. Victor Crane, removed. Investigated. Disgraced. The board fractured. The merger shattered. And the empire Adrian once protected more than anything now stood on the brink of ruin. But for the first time, he felt free. Because power no longer chained him. Regret did. And there was only one person in the world whose forgiveness he still needed. He searched for her. Days, nights, no sleep, no rest. Old addresses, closed apartments, empty cafes. He followed memories instead of maps. Until finally, he found her. In a quiet coastal town. Standing on a wooden pier at sunset. Wind in her hair. Ocean breathing softly below. She looked peaceful. But the peace was not happiness. It was distance. A life without him. He didn't rush toward her. He didn't call her name. He walked slowly and stopped a few steps behind. The waves crashed softly. The silence between them was deeper than any argument they ever had. His voice trembled. Not from fear, but from truth. "Maya, I came to lose whatever is left of you, honestly," he said. She did not turn, not yet. Her voice, calm, wounded, guarded. "You came to fix what you destroyed?" she asked. He closed his eyes. "No, I came to admit that some things can't be fixed." The wind carried his words away, but the meaning stayed. Heavy, real. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it." His voice broke, gently. "I just needed you to know. I choose you, even if choosing you means losing you forever." He admitted. She finally turned. Her eyes were not angry. They were sad, shaken, human. That was the moment everything stopped. Past and future, hanging on one breath. One heartbeat, one truth between them. Because love is not proven in grand gestures, but in the moment someone finally learns to love you without trying to own you. And now, the final choice belonged to her. Maya and Adrian stood face to face with the one thing neither of them had ever known how to confront. Not love, but honesty. The wind moved between them, gentle, unhurried, as if even the world refused to interrupt the moment. Maya looked at him, truly looked at him, not as the billionaire, not as the man who once broke her, but as someone who finally understood the cost of his power. Her voice, soft, fragile, steady. "Maya, why now, Adrian? Why change? After everything." He swallowed, eyes trembling with a truth he could no longer hide. "Adrian, quiet. Because the day you walked away, I saw the man I had become. Through your silence." He took a slow breath. "Adrian, I spent my life believing love meant control, obedience, certainty. His voice cracked, bare, human. Adrian. But you forced me to confront the one fear I never faced. A pause. Adrian. The fear of loving someone I could not command. Her eyes softened, not in forgiveness, but in recognition, because she knew that kind of fear. She had lived it, survived it, broken free from it. He stepped no closer. He did not reach for her hand. He kept his distance, because for the first time, he understood that love without respect is just another kind of cage. Adrian, sincere, grounded. I won't ask you to come back. I won't ask you to try again. I won't ask you to stay. A tear slipped down his cheek, but his voice remained steady. Adrian, I came here only to say, you were never my weakness. He lifted his eyes to hers. Adrian, you were my mirror. The words hung in the air. Soft, painful, true. Maya turned away, looking out toward the horizon. The ocean shimmered. Her thoughts raced, but her voice remained calm. Maya, I built my life, piece by piece, after you. Her fingers trembled quietly. Maya, I learned how to breathe, without waiting for permission. Another breath. Maya, and I promised myself I would never go back to a version of love that hurts more than it heals. Silence. The kind that feels like a fragile bridge between two worlds. He nodded slowly, not fighting, not pleading, accepting, because love is not proven in desperation, but in restraint. She turned back to him. Her eyes held warmth, pain, and something deeper. Understanding. Maya, softly. You changed, Adrian. I can see that. A pause. Maya. But love isn't about words or promises or sacrifice made too late. Her voice shook. Maya, it's about who we are when no one is watching. He exhaled because he knew, and she knew, that no matter how much he had changed, some scars do not disappear, some memories do not fade, some love stories do not return to what they once were. They evolve, or they end. She stepped forward, just one step, not toward a reunion, but toward closure. She placed her hand gently on his chest. His heart raced beneath her palm. Her voice, barely above a whisper. Maya, I forgive you for the person you used to be. A tear fell, not from pain, from release. She smiled softly. Maya, but I choose my life, my peace, my freedom. Silence, and for the first time, Adrian didn't fight it. He nodded. Not as a man losing love, but as a man finally learning what love truly means. He inhaled slowly, his voice gentle, grateful, sincere. Adrian, thank you, Maya. Not for what she gave him, but for what she taught him. He stepped back, allowing distance, respect, space. She turned away, not walking from him, but walking toward herself. And the sun slowly melted into the horizon, like the last page of a story written in quiet courage. From that day forward, Adrian rebuilt everything, not to prove his worth, but to redefine it. He changed how he led, how he listened, how he treated people. His empire didn't rise again through power. It rose through empathy. And every decision he made carried one reminder. Because love without respect isn't love at all. Maya did not vanish into heartbreak. She grew. She opened her own firm, worked on her own terms, lived without fear. Her life was not perfect, but it finally belonged to her. Sometimes, late at night, she thought of him, not with regret, not with longing, with gratitude for the chapter that broke her and rebuilt her stronger. Years later, their paths crossed once more. A conference hall, a quiet corridor. Their eyes met. No rush, no ache, just peace. He smiled softly. She returned it. No words, no promises. Two souls, no longer unfinished. Not lovers, not enemies, just two people who changed each other forever. Some love stories do not end in togetherness. Some end in transformation. And sometimes, the bravest kind of love is the love that lets go before it becomes a cage. Their story did not end with goodbye. It ended with growth. So ask yourself, is love still love? If it cost you yourself? Or is the truest love the one that frees you, even if it breaks your heart along the way?